Chapter 532, the 43rd level. This chapter is updated by Novels.pl. Half-Saint Yuanying wore a hooded black robe. He looked like a ghost, as he was covered from head to toe. He stood beside the stone tablet of the heaven board, his body emanating a deathly aura. He slowly raised his head, revealing a pale, haggard face with narrow eyes and drooping eye sockets. He glanced toward the heaven board and said in a raspy voice, "This is happening very quickly. If things continue to go like this, Zhang Yuochen will reach the ultimate realm of the heaven realm in less than 6 months." The Red Wish emissary stood behind Half-Saint Yuanying. Her body was covered by pink fog which showed a graceful and elegant silhouette but concealed her real appearance. She laughed. "Why do you think that it would take 6 months? I think that Zhang Yuochen will enter the ultimate realm in less than 3 months. He would become the second person who has reached the ultimate realm of the heaven realm in 100 years. Red Wish emissary's eyes curved like 2 crescent moons. She thought to herself, with a person like Zhang Yuochen, Yi would not be able to survive for much longer. Yi held grudges as well as hatred towards Zhang Yuochen. However, Red Wish emissary had no grudge nor conflict against Zhang Yuochen. Besides, she is a woman, a beautiful and charming woman. There was no reason why she should not work with him. Huang Shenyi was dead. Once Zhang Yuochen eliminates Yi, no other emissary would be skilled enough to challenge her. She was confident that she could become the new young master of the Black Market Excellence Hall. Half-Saint Yuanying's brows furrowed slightly. He said, "Did the Martial Market Bank people block the space route toward the Xuanwu primitive world?" The Red Wish emissary nodded and said, "Yes, they have." The Martial Market Bank and the Ministry of War have always had a close relationship, and they have many shared interests. As long as high-level personnel from the Martial Market Bank makes an appearance, the Ministry of War will have to show their face. Half-Saint Yuanying nodded and said, "If the pride of the Saint Academy broke in the ultimate realm, the upper echelons of the Martial Market Bank would, no matter what, come out and protect him." The Red Wish emissary continued, "Furthermore, 3 of the Sword Saint Xuanji's 5 disciples have rushed to Myriad Chaos Mountain. The 3 held the fort in front of the primitive world. I am afraid masters of the 7th change of the Fish Dragon realm, masters from the black market, the heresy, and those with skills above that, would probably not be able to enter the Xuanwu primitive world. Zhang Yuochen is Sword Saint Xuanji's 6th disciple. How could his elder brother and elder sister disciples not come to help?" An icing air gushed out of Half-Saint Yuanying's body. The Red Wish emissary said, "Your Excellency, what do we do now? Is there anything we can do to stop him from reaching the ultimate realm of the heaven realm?" Half-Saint Yuanying snorted and said, "Even if the Martial Market Bank blocked the primitive world, it doesn't mean that Zhang Yuochen can't be killed. The black market also has some masters in the Ministry of War in the Xuanwu primitive world. Now is the right time to use them." Half-Saint Yuanying scanned the heaven board. He looked at the 3rd name on the tablet. Yi. 5 million military merits. In 2 months, Zhang Yuochen's military merits had passed 20 million. In 2 months, Yi's military merits had also quietly surpassed 5 million points. It must be noted that previously, Yi had 0 military merits. Naturally, Red Wish emissary's attention was also caught by the name Yi on the heaven board. Her beautiful eyes narrowed slightly, and she quietly said, "He is in the death primitive world, yet he is rapidly accumulating military merits. It seems that he has refined Buqianfan into a demonic shadow. His strength has increased dramatically, and he is putting all his energy into charging into the ultimate realm of the heaven realm." Buqianfan was once considered as God's favored son. Unfortunately, he is mentally flawed. As long as he faced Yi, he would lose without question. Whose fault was it that he was a very sentimental man? After Yi refined Buqianfan into a shadow, would he be affected by Buqianfan's will and also develop sentiments and flaws? Inside the scroll world, Zhang Yuochen sat with his legs crossed beneath the sacred prime tree and took out the 32nd red crown mushroom. "My spiritual power has reached a critical point. Once I refine this, I would be able to break into the 43rd level." Zhang Yuochen spread his arms out, and green flames surged out of his palms. The 1-meter-tall flames engulfed the red crown mushroom. Swoosh! The red crown mushroom dissolved into glittering of light spots. forming a rain of light. They flew toward the sacred mark between Zhang Yuochen's brows and entered his Qi Sea. After about 6 hours, Zhang Yuochen's spiritual power started to rise quickly. The energy exploded out of his body, charging to different directions. At this moment, he felt that he had dissolved into tens of thousands of light spots and was present everywhere within 1,000 kilometers of the surrounding area. Some of the light spots landed on the ground, and he could see each speck of dirt, each blade of grass, each inscription, and even each dewdrop on the grass and leaves. Some of the light spots flew to Huang Yanshan, Alxinian, and the Orange Star emissary's side. Zhang Yuochen could see each strand of hair, each lash on their eyes, and each ear piercing. However, when the light spots charged moved towards their backs, they met an obstacle about a meter from their positions. Who is it? Alxinian could feel that someone was watching her. Her eyes shot open, and she quickly struck out her arms to each side, surging out a ball of genuine qi. With a boom, all light spots within 300 meters were wiped out by the powerful blast of genuine qi. After that, Orange Star Emissary and Huang Yanshan also discovered that there was a mysterious power watching them. Both of them struck out and destroyed the mysterious power. Zhang Yuochen withdrew his spiritual power, calling back tens of thousands of light spots to return to his body. A strange smile formed on his face. Thank God they didn't bother to inspect what those lights were. If they discovered that I was watching them, I wouldn't be able to give them a good excuse. Using spiritual power to watch someone was inappropriate, almost as if watching a woman shower. Zhang Yuochen didn't mean to invade their privacy, but his spiritual power had just broken into the 43rd level, and he wanted to test his newly gained strength. He just happened to choose them to experiment with. Alas, there were only a few people in the scroll world, so they could probably guess that it was him who was watching them. As for this point, Zhang Yuochen was not too bothered. As long as he does not have evil intentions, it didn't matter if they misunderstood him. The kind of state just now was very similar to the Buddhist teaching, dissolving oneself into millions and there is nowhere one is not. However, my spiritual powers are still not strong enough. His spiritual power incarnation had been completely shattered by one of the strikes. Who knows what level it would take for one's spiritual power to be omnipresent. His spiritual power had reached the 43rd level. Using only his spiritual powers, Zhang Yuochen could challenge a monk in the 6th change of the Fish Dragon realm. This was the true realm after reaching the 6th change. His current strength level is enough to match a master in the Fish Dragon realm. His spiritual power cultivation had far surpassed his martial cultivation. Zhang Yuochen closed his eyes and clenched his fists as he activated his spiritual power. Crash, crash, a black cloud appeared above his head. Countless streaks of lightning flashed through the cloud, making loud noises. The flashing lightning in the cloud gathered together and formed a round ball of lightning that charged toward the ground. The ball-shaped lightning landed and formed a giant dent on the ground. The shockwaves radiated out, and all surrounding vegetation turned to ash. There were strands of inscription that looked like lightning snakes, flowing continuously over the surface of the black mud. They made cracking noises and took a while before it disappeared. Zhang Yuochen retracted his spiritual power and nodded. He was satisfied at the magnitude of the explosion that he had created. It is more powerful than a full-strength attack from a 6th monk of the Fish Dragon realm. Given the extent of my spiritual power, I will probably be able to challenge a Red Cloud Python, even at their prime. I am still missing a psychic staff. Otherwise, my power would be much stronger. If I had a psychic staff, when I come across a monk at the 6th change of the Fish Dragon realm, I would be strong enough to battle them. Zhang Yuochen's spiritual power was indeed mighty right now. However, but he was still only a match for monks at the 6th change. Since Zhang Yuochen didn't have a psychic staff and did not systematically practice from the Codex of Spiritual Power, he could only activate his spiritual power to launch attacks. He was like a warrior who only practiced exercises. Even if his cultivation reached the 6th change of the Fish Dragon realm, he would only be able to use genuine qi. There would be no weapons and no powerful martial techniques. If someone were a Grand Master of spiritual power, as long as they reached the 43rd level, their power would still be much more potent than that of Zhang Yuocheng's. Only by using the psychic staff and the spells in the Codex of Spiritual Power could one fully utilize the full strength of spiritual power. In the past, Zhang Yuocheng had seen some codices of spiritual powers and knew a few ways of practicing lightning-type spells. However, he never had the time to practice. Since his spiritual power had reached level 43, he decided to pick a spell to practice. Closing his eyes, Zhang Yuocheng to recall the spells. He quickly remembered a method of practicing a lightning-type spell. It was a level 1 magic arts, ninefold lightning knife. At Zhang Yuocheng's present level of spiritual power, he would be able to practice level 3 spells successfully. However, it would take a lot of time to practice a level 3 magic arts, and he did not have much time to study, so he decided to practice a relatively easy level 1 magic arts. The ninefold lightning knife condensed lightning into a knife blade, and it fell from the heaven like a knife connecting heaven and earth. 9 knives, one after another like 9 repeating lightning bolts. They continuously fell and did not give the enemy any time to breathe. Once he had successfully practiced this spell, Zhang Yuocheng's spiritual power attacks would become sharper and more refined. It would no longer be as scattered as before. Instead, he would be able to gather his powers into one point. Although the power of the ninefold lightning knife was not particularly strong, it was still much more powerful than what it was previously. After 3 days, Zhang Yuocheng had some progress with the ninefold lightning knife. He was able to summon 3 knife-shaped lightning bolts. After another 5 days, Zhang Yuocheng had successfully learned to use the ninefold lightning knife and could attack with 9 lightning knives in a row. Given my current power, I should be able to challenge the 3 black market masters. Zhang Yuocheng's gaze became very sharp. In his mind, he thought of the deaths of the 9 primitive world soldiers and vengeance fired within him. His power had grown by leaps and bounds, and it was time to avenge for blood.